just fine without it. Great, now that's the one thing I do have to do. Great. Thank you, Jesse.
Michelle, these are yours.
Don't do mine.
Just got a mailbox.
Another pile of executive stuff. Didn't. Maybe not. Oh, this is
Same thing
a
as
town meeting.
Loskets.
This is that thing, our town or whatever. No, that's a play by somebody.
Burton Wilder.
Yes, that's the name. Thank you. We did the play when I was in high school, 12th grade.
Everybody does that play.
I hope everybody did that play. Hope they don't still do that play.
Sylvia Mintz was our drama.
You remember?
Yeah, she was quite a teacher. And her husband, he was head of OLA at the time.
Oh, yeah, well, never.
Yeah.
What was the thing?
Mintz,
M-I-N?
MINTZ.
Oh,
Shall we start the meeting?
Yes.
Let's start the meeting. Welcome everybody to the January 17th, 2024 town board meeting. We'll start with the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as our custom, so this is opportunity for privilege of the floor. I don't think we have anyone signed up here. And I don't see anybody that has raised their hand. So we will proceed to start the meeting. Great. Let's see, so a couple of, I had wanted to add a question to you all about whether we would want to, Cal won't be here the week of the 19th of February. So I had thought it might make sense to postpone that meeting a week to February 28th.
Okay, that's what it makes.
So I should remember to make a resolution to that effect. Great. So with that, I will move to reports and start with my report. So we received a letter from Steve DeWitt and Alana Condon at the Board of Elections. And so I think you've all seen that. And they are proposing to move to a single voting place in Caroline at the Brookendale Fire Hall. And they outlined a number of reasons for this. One of them was ADA access for the building, simplifying where voting occurs in Caroline. If there was only one place, that's pretty straightforward. And I guess that's how there's one voting place in Newfield and Enfield. So, I did see a response from Cal and Michelle, and I felt about the same way. And so there.
Well, I'd rather have the other site, but it doesn't seem feasible, and so. I'm quite sure that Steve is the most knowledgeable person about these sites.
Yep.
He lives in the district, so
Mhm.
if he says that should be recommended, I certainly would counter
And
that.
it's where he votes, so he
Right.
knows the.
Yeah, and I did speak to Cindy Nicholson, who couldn't be here tonight, but she's
She's quite often a poll sitter.
poll worker for that site for a long time, and she understood the angst, but felt like it was a good move to do that. So for the reasons I just stated. So Becky, do you have a comment? Okay.
Just quickly,
The Caroline History Association had a meeting, a public gathering in March, rehoming Caroline, and the power went up. I don't know what the electrical circumstance was. We did have a lot of potluck kinds of things that were heated, but it's just something that you might want to look into before. I don't know how much electricity the machines and, you know, all of the accoutrements require. That's all.
Okay. Okay,
Are you saying in Brooktondale that happened?
Yeah, well, I haven't mentioned that to Steve, he's out of town, but.
Yeah.
Just saying.
okay. Great, thank you. The next thing is we received annual reports from Gail Moran for the reading room, which is very nice, and from Barb Cohn for the history room.
Did you post that one? Because I didn't see that.
It was forwarded to you. So Jesse forwarded it the other day. So Barb sent it in December, but she sent it to my old town board address, so I never
Okay.
saw it. So it was just,
Okay,
I think, did
I was
you?
checking my, checking
Yeah.
my mail the past couple of days. I didn't see it, but,
Yeah, it said this was from Jesse and then, but it is on our
and when did it come in?
couple days ago.
Okay,
It was a couple days ago when you were asking the question about whether, and then Jesse remembered that she's seen it in her email.
okay,
So then she forwarded it and realized that I didn't get it because
Okay.
Barb had used my old town board
okay,
address
I'll look again.
9 years ago. So anyway, yeah, we do have it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just learned today, actually, I stuck this in my notes late, that I don't see Dan. He wondered, so he'll probably come to the next meeting, but today the county received notice of the local government efficiency grant award, $630,000 for the countywide rapid medical response program in year one. So that's funded, and the understanding is that the county will provide the 10% match. So funding for next year is looking good, I'm sure. So that's exciting. Energy independent Caroline. Mike Brown called a meeting and chaired that meeting. We met on January 9th and invited Jerry Sheng, who is our Climate Smart Communities Coordinator. And as you might know, we're currently a Climate Smart Bronze certified community from past actions. And then Chris Squaski he came to the meeting, and he's our Clean Energy Communities Coordinator. And so the discussion was of possible sustainability opportunities. And I think these can qualify us for communities, climate smart communities designations or certifications, and clean energy communities steps that give us opportunities for grant funding. So Mike Brown has been looking at this and feels like we have some good opportunities to qualify for significant funding coming up. So we were talking about what kind of projects we would use the money for, and improving the building envelope of this building was a prominent discussion item. Mike was also interested in signing up town accounts that are eligible for communities solar projects, where you get your energy from a solar installation, and also maybe coupled with that, doing community outreach for residents to do the same. So that's kind of exciting. And going back to the climate smart designation. So our designation, our certification, bronze certification expires next September. And so we're we're trying to work to get recertified.
How does the community geothermal idea work into this, or is it just not far enough along yet to really have an impact?
I don't know. So we got a FlexTex grant award for currently. So Mike looked into whether that would be eligible, but those awards are eligible but we got ours too long ago. So
Oh, okay.
ours
So
isn't
it doesn't
recent
count
enough.
for the certification?
Ours won't count towards that, but there might be other opportunities going forward. So, and yeah, so, and I see that Mike has his hand up, and I did tell him that if he wanted to chime in, to let me know. So he has, so,
Yeah, you all able to hear me?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to get credit for the feasibility study, but we would be able to get credit through the Clean Energy Communities Program for once that project goes out for RFP, for a request for a proposal. So there's definitely ability to get credit through the Clean Energy Communities Program for that Speedsville project.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Anything else you want to add?
I think you hit all of it. Yeah, we're talking about two separate programs here. There's the Climate Smart Communities Program, which is what we're bronze certified in, and that's a DEC program. And then there's the Clean Energy Communities Program, and that's a NYSERDA program. And it's through the Clean Energy Communities Program that we can possibly quite quickly get about $60,000 worth of funding, which could be used for, we had talked about the building upgrade or building energy efficiency upgrades. And depending on how we spend it, could also be spun up into they have a $100,000 grant that we could also go for too. But the Climate Smart Communities, we definitely want to get recertified and bronze, because when you do that, it also counts for points in the Clean Energy Communities Program.
Could, okay, maybe this is too disparate, but could we use some money from that grant to, for the new highway garage, like energy stuff? The,
How
you know,
about
how we're,
insulating the old one?
Yeah, it's definitely a use. They have pre-approved project types for these large grants through the Clean Energy Communities Program, and building energy efficiency upgrades is one of the pre-approved project types. So either improving building envelopes or putting heat pumps in as well. Those are definitely things that you could spend money on.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Yes is the answer.
Great.
Would that be on Mike, do you know if it would be on just existing buildings?
It could be on, I believe, existing and new construction.
Thank you.
Yep.
Super. Thank you, Mike. Very good.
Great.
Is there
That's
any
really
way
good
of getting any data of where, how much energy does this building use? How much energy does that building use? How
So-
much energy?
Yeah.
Let's attack the,
So well, that was one of our Clean Energy Communities action items that we did some time ago, like 5 years ago, was benchmarking.
I thought it was 50 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Sorry.
So, yeah, so the answer is yes. And I think Velvet worked with Chris like last summer to update some of that.
And then somebody, NYSEG or something, used to have some infrared stuff where they could come in and, oh, this building's terrible. I don't know, but yeah, that'll be worked on.
Yeah. Great. Cool. So there's
Thank you, Mike.
yeah, thanks, Mike. And I'm really happy to have EIC. We haven't met in a while. It's nice to do that. And we are looking for new members, if any, well, that's always been true, so anybody.
Was that your mic?
Yes.
I just wanted to double check.
Hi.
I kind of assumed, but I just be sure.
Great. So anyway, the Watershed Committee met also that evening. And I brought up to everyone's attention that I had been notified by USGS that our 3-year contract for monitoring of the Brooksondale stream gauge has expired. And they reached out to me about a new contract or whether to continue that monitoring station. That was their question, saying that some of the techniques have changed, so anyway, a back and forth, we're planning to have a meeting with all the partners, and Cal's surprised to this, and so we'll be working with Soil and Water, Town of Dryden and City of Ithaca. Probably Kristen Heitschka, who's the Water Resources Council rep. And who else was I thinking of?
What does it monitor? Flow,
Roxy Johnson.
what's it monitor? Flow, sediment?
Sedimentation, turbidity, flow and turbidity are
Yeah.
two main things that really impacts the
Oh.
city water plant down there in Water
I think
Street.
stream height.
Okay.
Just so they can get some data on it. There's another one on Banks Road. The one here has, so there's two here. I think there's 6 countywide,
Okay.
but and I talked with somebody,
John?
yeah, John and Angel. And the stream gauge monitor that's here, there's a big white beach 60 feet upstream from it that's hanging over the creek at about a 45-degree angle. And, if that comes over one of these days, it's gonna make a mess and might even impact their building, so. But, so it's a fascinating thing, but, it's just something needs to get done about that. So, there's kind of, re-signing up and.
Well, it's good to have the data to,
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, Kristen pointed out in our watershed committee meeting that they do use that information for modeling things. So, I mean, I think we just need to have a full discussion.
Yeah.
Figure out if it's redundant or if it's actually adding something, and then make a decision from
They
there.
like this site because the stream bottom is rock at this point, and they feel they get a more accurate reading of what's really in the water and not something that's just kind of stirred up and right at that site. They just feel that it's an accurate or precise, I forget which is which.
Okay.
Great.
So they really like that site.
Soil and Water does. Is
Yes.
that who you talked to? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So we ought to know more about that by the next agenda meeting.
I would think so. Yeah. And then I just made a note that, this is more like a note to myself, but, we do need to, interview for the review board. We have planning board seats open, and we're going to need to appoint as a zoning board of appeals. So, need to put an announcement out, let people know, and, I think we should talk about, scheduling interviews for the review board, at some point, maybe in February. So actually, that's my report. Any other questions or comments? Things I forgot?
I just want to say again, I think the work you did for emergency management, Mark, is really
Fantastic.
commendable. And so having this grant come through is just like a
Yeah.
further feather on your cap. So thanks.
Yeah, yeah, sure, and absolutely, it's gratifying and, such a great team effort I can't say enough about how that's come together, so. It'll be interesting to see how we'll get to see, it'll be a test run next year to see how it works and look at it constructively. So let's see, so next up is the clerk's report. Jesse, do you want to give us anything?
Sure, yeah. Just busy with tax collection. Gradually working my way through the 2023 records, taking inventory and such as things get filed away. I will at some point in the next few days have to start preparing for the audit on Tuesday. And then other than that, I just had a couple quick things to have on everyone's mind. The first thing is I know that with the recent power outage, I know at one point the town board a few years ago talked about getting a generator for the town hall. And I know that you know, I lost a whole day with tax collection because of that. So just something to keep on everyone's radar, maybe for upcoming discussions. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention was if you're gonna move the February business meeting, then we'll have to figure out make arrangements to pay the bills because that will be far too late for a lot of them.
Okay, that's good to know.
That's
Yeah. Great, thank you, Jesse. I'll just comment on the backup generator thing that also triggered during that day power outage, and I think that I think there might be a
I mean, the backup generator for this building.
yeah, it would probably be, it would be a backup generator for these two buildings. And so we might be able to get a hazard mitigation, a state grant to support that through the hazard mitigation thing. And I think that might also be the Climate Smart Communities initiatives are about climate resiliency and mitigation. So I think it might give us points towards that too. So I think it would be, you know, I think we should maybe
Do you want me to?
put our effort into that.
Do you want me to get an assessment on needs and costs and you work on it from the other end? The generator at the highway barn is also. They have to take a screwdriver and poke it to get it switched. Right? So
that's also a possibility.
you know, just if we had somebody doing it, just do both. They just put a new one
yeah,
over here.
If you wanted to do that, Cal, I would just encourage you to work with Velvet on that.
Yeah, but I let you handle kind of I'll try to find somebody, here's the size generator we ought to have.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And here's, you know, I mean.
I'm happy to sign anything, but you do the rest of the work, okay?
And that works out great, because I'm lousy at paperwork, but I'm pretty good at this bird dog,
Great,
so,
thank you.
I got some numbers, Ken.
okay, good.
Okay.
Great, so I will.
Some people are putting in batteries for backup.
We looked at that and they
It's
are
just,
about
expensive.
$150,000 to do this place. So it's a
doesn't-
little too expensive, at least when we looked there a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
it would be not, you know,
Okay.
it was just
yeah, that's a lot of money.
for, you know, what it would cost to, I mean, even the installer, the guy that had the batteries or the company, you know,
yeah, if we do that, we better pass a law.
yeah,
That's-
or not, yeah, so whatever. But anyway.
Well, I was looking at, it's possible to connect my electric car to my house.
Yeah.
You know,
A
so,
great idea for you.
Oh, right,
no, I'm just saying, yeah, but it only lasts for like 6-7 hours. I mean, no, it's not quite true. Anyway, but it's.
Yeah, but you can get water and flush the toilet.
well, it might be
My purse
something
can
where, you know, also kind of just. You know, this sort of. What's on everybody's minds these days, moving towards that kind of thing, so it might be worth just checking it out, see if it's feasible now.
Or you mean check out again the battery
Yeah,
that would just charge up off the solar panels. And yeah, I mean, prices change in a couple of years.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
we'll pursue both generator, natural gas and generator battery or standby electric battery and standby electric fossil fuel.
yeah, standby
I mean,
battery
Yeah,
storage,
yeah, exactly. I mean,
and then. I
it
guess,
may not be feasible at all.
Yeah.
One idea with the electricity also, with the battery, is that you can charge it when the electricity is cheaper and then use it during the daytime. Even,
probably
you
wouldn't
know,
be
at
feasible.
any time.
It probably wouldn't be feasible for the highway barn just because of the size that would be needed. Anyway,
Right.
so yeah, because the generators would be gas generators.
well, Probably natural gas, yeah.
Yeah, ours is natural gas now.
Would we be likely to get a discount if we bought
That's what I'm thinking.
for all three of these
Yeah,
buildings?
here's a nice deal, for some installer. I don't know, one thing we should look into too, I bought generators a couple times. For some reason, I can get them vastly cheaper out of Pennsylvania. Makes no sense, it's the same company.
Mhm. Great. Okay, that's exciting. I think that's
Yeah,
doable.
I think it's been a long time coming.
my understanding is getting backup generations through the consolidated funding application for it's very viable.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
we should be cool. All right, great. Thank you. Thanks, Cal. Thanks, Jesse. So, don't have a report from the code officer tonight. I'll follow up with him on that. Committee updates?
I wasn't able to attend the Ag Farmland Protection Committee meeting, but Will was there as secretary. She sent me notes, but seeing as how she's here, I don't know if she would be so kind as to. Well, you were there too.
Sure, either way, and then,
Yeah, go ahead, Will. That'd be fine.
okay, so, we're at the point of putting together a very, very rough draft. Though the draft, won't be ready for feedback or comments for a while. And we're polishing up our vision statements and, the definition of agriculture is really, a big, an important foundation for the plan because we want the definition of agriculture to be appropriate for our town, where, even at the county level, the view of agriculture is much different than for Caroline. So we're polishing that up and, sorry, I wasn't expecting to do this. but
That
I-
really was the focus of the meeting. A lot of discussion about that.
We do have our, steps mapped out for the coming year. And if we were able to stick to it, we'd be done at the end of 2024. But, I think what we'll find is the committee is gonna really hunker down on what kinds of recommendations we make and be really clear about what's doable versus what's aspirational. I think it's how we put it, because we're determined it's not gonna be a plan that sits on the shelf after it's done.
Mhm.
And Monica has been great, and, Crystal, is, from Cooperative Extension, has helped a lot too.
Great.
Great. Thanks, Will.
It looked like from the list of attendees, the meeting was one of the best attended,
Yeah, it was.
except for the potluck meal.
Yeah,
No, it was a good meeting. Yeah.
So, that, I think just interest is picking up among the non-traditional agriculturists.
Possibly.
I mean, just from what I saw, the
Yeah, could be.
attendees, that's, I think,
Yeah.
great news.
That's great.
One thing I meant to mention at the meeting, I'd seen, I got it on a flyer in the mail from Anna Kellis, but she got passed a bill, I guess, or got a grant for I think it was $1 million for agri-solar, education and outreach at Cornell, sort of. And that's my understanding, is to develop that, to be able to advise people on what works and how to do it. So I thought that was really exciting, really.
Yeah, I saw something on that.
Great, thanks, Will. That was good. Any other committee updates?
Do we get any, did Cliff mention whether has moved forward with the software?
I can tell you, we have submitted the documents and so they're,
Okay.
we're moving forward with that. Yep.
And Mark, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I don't see on here
Uh-oh.
the website rebuild
Oh,
and business.
I added that here as a note, so
Okay.
I do think we should discuss that. So thanks, Tim. Yep.
Real quick, the Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council Planning Committee met yesterday and in the morning, and in the afternoon, the Safe Streets for All Committee met. So it was a long day. But it's pretty much still planning and wheels are churning slowly. The planning committee is, okaying the tip and lots of county things going on, but the Safe Streets for All, they're gathering data, they're gonna be doing outreach to communities in probably March, April, so.
And what does that look like? Outreach to
The
community.
outreach to the communities is really, they only want to talk to like a couple designated people. And so what I'm thinking is I'd like to organize anybody who's interested in having a meeting so we can,
So you're responsible for
I
that?
will be responsible for that.
Oh.
So we can have a meeting and have input. There is going to be an online map where people can go in, anybody can go in and like highlight areas they feel really need focus. Where they feel that it's dangerous or have been near accidents, things like that. The data they have are, the priority is going to fatalities. And then they have some information about, about other accidents. What's missing in that data is where people feel it's dangerous, so they avoid it, or they don't walk, or they don't bike, right? If it's dangerous, you stay home. There's no data about who's staying home. Say in the hamlets, instead of walking to a playground, for example, they're driving to the playground or driving to the school because they don't feel safe.
But they would recognize that as a dangerous spot.
They would recognize, yeah, so people living here would recognize that as a dangerous spot. The planners don't get that from the accident data,
Oh, right.
okay?
Mm.
So
Is that what these then subsequent?
yeah, so people can go in and we'll be able to identify that.
I
And
see,
that,
I see. Mhm.
so that's good, but I know a lot of people have talked to me and they've got some great ideas about, what they'd like to see, so.
Have they been communicating with the highway departments also about what they perceive to be dangerous spots?
I don't think they're talking to the town highways, I think they're talking to the county is involved in it. But I don't, have they reached out at all to you? Yeah, that's a good,
Seems like a
yeah, I should
logical-
talk to you about,
seems like
right,
a
so, yeah.
logical thing.
Yeah, that would be absolutely,
Yeah.
completely logical,
It's wonderful.
and ambulance,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good, yeah, I'll reach out, I'll talk to you, Bobby, and figure that out, so,
Great, thank you.
yep.
Great. Shall we move on to the business part of the meeting?
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay, great. So I would suggest that we move to discussion of the highway project. I think we've all read the Labella report. It's on the website if anybody wants to look at it. And that was I'll just say in a summary.
Falling asleep.
Yeah, well, actually, if you go to the right pages, you don't have to read the whole thing, so. But anyway, so, I think we all observed that the price was pretty high for a complete rebuild, and so we've been circling the wagons and having some discussions about that, so, so we've talked with Bob and so Bob's here tonight and I was gonna ask him to sort of, if you want to give us sort of a summary of what you're thinking for what we could do with this, if it's possible to do that verbally, just
I can try.
okay.
basically narrowing our scope of work down into a manageable piece rather than, you know, before we had every building kind of listed, and we were completely changing the whole property design, so to say. And trying to get everything into one building, which brought that price up to, you know, this astronomical number. Kind of thrown together a whole bunch of ideas of how we could use our current site and our current buildings, whether they're usable, not usable. We kind of come up with a plan that I think would drastically save money. But in doing that, it narrows that scope of work down to our main building now. When I say we, I'm saying like the highway would kind of take on some of the little smaller projects. There's a couple little additions that would need to be added. We have a building that needs to be tore down. And another building kind of erected in that same spot, so. As far as our engineering firm, we've kind of unloaded a bunch of work off of their plate, which in turn would unload a bunch of money off of this, you know, astronomical number, so, basically, we have an old cold storage building that's currently fallen down, which, I mean, most everybody knows it's what's referred to as a Quonset. And then we have a newer Morton building, which was built here a few years back, so the plan is to add on to that old Morton building. With a couple of additions on each side, and then tear down that Quonset, which is literally falling down. Erected another building, same footprint there. And then working with an engineering firm, whether it's the same one or different, to take the current highway barn, but look at putting an addition on it. And kind of give it a, you know, giving it a rehab. I mean, we're gonna have to look at, you know, new roof and some new siding, but it would add, you know, another 2 bays to our existing highway garage. So, if anybody kind of wants to see it on paper or picture, we can kind of sit down and go over that, but, I have met with Mark and I've met with Tim, and kind of show them on paper what my idea and what the guys' idea was down there to do that, so. And currently the buildings that we would add on to now were never buildings that were getting tore down in any of our, you know, previous plans or ideas, with Labella or anybody else, so. I think we would take this number from, you know, this huge 8 to 10 number, and I think we would be way below that. Maybe we can get this down to, you know, in the 1 or 2 range by the time we're all done, so. Again, some of it's kind of hard to explain because I don't have a map to kind of show you, but
Yeah, I'm trying to,
Mark's actually trying to pull it up.
I was gonna try to screen share here. Let me do that, because I don't, so that anybody watching can do it, see it too. So.
Now I made laser point.
We'll call you
You can just
Professor.
stand up on the pew back there.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Mark, you can use your cursor.
Yeah, where do you want me to go, Bob? Here's the Quonset here.
Yeah, you don't happen to have the one that just shows the site, do you?
The current site.
The current site, the one without,
Hmm,
I think it's the one that's directly before.
this one?
No.
No,
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 here's the first one.
it should be one with no big white blocks on. It might be that. Right there.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's as it is now.
That's the current site now.
Right.
So when I talk about additions, if you can move your arrow mark over by the fueling station. Keep going.
Keep going.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Across the road.
Yeah, so now we just move to the building to the right,
Where do you want the cursor? Am I at the right?
Building to the right.
right on the building to the right.
This one,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the
So
one.
that building was originally put up as cold storage. We turned that into heated storage, which currently houses a 10-wheeler and a loader. That building right there would get two 25-foot additions, one on each side. And that would also go to heated storage. That little building that's currently right there actually doesn't.
Doesn't
that was put
exist.
down, you know, years ago.
Yeah.
So this building, this picture is a little older, so to say, but, that little building isn't there anymore, so. Then moving over to, far left of the Quonset mark. So that building is the current Quonset,
Mhm.
which has been on this site for forever, but it is literally falling over as we speak, so,
It's 75 or 80 years old.
Mhm.
There's a
Yeah,
picture of it
it's-
right there.
Yeah.
the foundation, yeah, there's a picture of it to the far left,
Mhm.
what little bit of foundation that does have is literally falling out, I mean, the block. Feet. So that building actually has to be tore down, you know, regardless of anything, but where the footprint of that building is, would just be erecting another 40 by 60 building there, which in turn, we would turn,
That would be,
Face the-
that would be for cold storage.
that would be for cold storage, eventually it could be moved to, you know, not hot storage, but maybe
Mhm.
warm storage so that we can park, you know, smaller plow trucks in there. And we don't have a chance of everything being froze up. Those two projects. We would, you know, we wanted to take out of that scope of work for the engineers. And we felt that those were projects that we could handle. You know, internally through the highway department of fixing or tearing that building down, putting that new building up. And then putting the two little additions on. The other thing that was in. Our big scope of work was the building that is way over to the far right. Farthest building out right there.
This one?
That one, when we put everything out, we just had that one getting kind of tidied up a little bit. It was kind of a re-side, it's cold storage. But it was basically putting some, you know, tin around it, some of the boards are falling off, but that one, we never really had a huge makeover. That's something that we would kind of throw onto our plate. Again, it doesn't need a whole bunch, it's got some tiny little problems with it. Where it came into a little bit of a bigger project was the current highway barn. So if you look at that, there's some room to expand out. And the thought was to expand that out. We kind of got to get out there and do a little more measuring, but say 40 feet, 45 feet. And that would add in, basically add 2 more bays or a bay and a half, so to say. To the existing building. That's something that's a little more. Can take a little more knowledge than mine. I mean, we're talking big steel girders and it's gonna need a little more engineering, so that's something that we would ask the engineer to kind of take over and point us in the direction that should go. But by taking just those other little projects off the plate, I think that number is gonna just go down tremendously, so.
The existing garage needs a new completely new electric service.
Yeah, there's some electrical work that needs to be redone. I mean, we don't like a brand new $10 million building, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, it's just not, at this point, it's not feasible, so. I mean, it's not feasible to taxpayers, it's not feasible to anybody. So there's some stuff that's gonna have to be rehabbed, but again, it was leaving the engineers on that project.
And that means basically, Bob, that the footprint of the entire site is roughly gonna remain the same, so we're not talking about re-engineering the road up top
Correct.
or re-engineering the frontage, et cetera,
And there's no
Correct.
problems with the property boundary or
Right.
the state owns.
Yeah, there was some question of, old right of ways,
Oh, right,
the
yeah.
lines were kind of, they were off drastically from one side of the, or one end of the property to the other end of the properties.
So we leave the road to
The road that goes to
top.
the upper
We just leave it.
spot, we just leave it alone. There's no retaining wall, there's no. I mean, there was a huge retaining wall that was gonna go in there, that whole road was getting changed, to go down behind.
Or it was gonna be relocated another.
Right, and it just kept adding up and adding up and adding up and adding up, so. So he needs everything down there, there's really no need to change. The
So you
access
need-
up top.
Do you have enough office space? I mean, that was something in the new plans,
That's-
was to have you guys have a,
No, but
Kitchen.
that's something else that we were looking at inside of the current building was,
Mhm.
if we stretch this here and, we're adding square footage in other kind of buildings, we can start moving a little bit of stuff out of our current building, our mechanical room now could probably get moved to, where the parts room is now, because by putting those two additions on, we could actually turn that FAR building actually into the mechanical shop. Right now, our mechanical shop is in the road barn. But right there where Mark's got his arrow would become the actual mechanical shop, so to say. So a lot of parts that are in our current building would get moved over, and if anybody's ever been in our parts room, it needs to get moved.
It's interesting.
It's interesting.
Kate, the original building design had where the offices are, had two floors there.
right,
And had another bay on,
Right, on the
so.
original plans for our current building now had a two-story.
that's what I was remembering.
Office
Yeah.
space and they're supposed to have more bays, so
Mhm.
again, it's something that would have to be looked. By engineers and say, yeah, this could be added on up here, or no, it couldn't. But just put the main focus simply on
That building.
our current building.
That's what we need to get back to Labella about.
Right.
Have we heard from Labella? They were gonna look at
Yeah.
reuse of the buildings.
They did go over and look.
I mean, have we gotten anything in writing?
they're waiting to hear from us.
Well, they're waiting to hear,
Oh, they're waiting to hear
they-
from
they
us.
need
Oh, okay.
information from us, so that's
Okay.
what this is all about, and they did email last week, David did
Okay.
and said. Where are you and on that, and
Mhm.
just let me know, so,
Okay.
yep, they're waiting.
So, that's pretty much what I got. I don't know if anybody has any questions or.
And as I said this
Yeah.
morning, I think that this is really a tremendously great step in the right direction.
I think so.
And, really appreciative of the work that you have done with your highway guys to reconceptualize this. And I think in a really creative and interesting way, so it's great.
Do you have any questions, Michelle?
No, I guess I was curious about adding those two. The additions, like,
Over here on the Morton building?
yeah, like who would figure that out? Who would design that and stuff?
Who would design that?
Yeah, would you guys just do it? Just,
We would just do that.
They're like,
We originally put that building in.
I see,
they're kind of like extended carports is what we're talking about.
I see.
That and, we've got a code enforcement officer that knows building code and, let's just, pay. If somebody else was building something, they'd have to look at it and if he can take a look at it, it seems and. I don't think-
I mean, if he told us we need stamp drawings, we'll get stamp drawings.
Right.
That sounds great.
So these are, when you even put the other building up, it's pretty basic, it's nothing. It's nothing out of the ordinary, it's just a basement 40-60 tall ceiling.
Seems like a great way to utilize the talents of the,
Utilize what we got.
yeah,
So would we be telling Labella we don't need them, or we just need them to work on the main
the
building?
main building, right?
Main building.
Main building.
Maybe just taking all the kind of the outside stuff And say,
Oh,
we're not gonna worry about that stuff, we're gonna take care of that stuff internally.
Yeah.
And then. Just the cost of putting those two buildings up alone would be a huge saving, because there's no prevailing wage, there's no. Takes all that stuff right off the table, so it's just done, it's done internal, so.
So from our discussion today, I think we're feeling like the best next step would be actually to meet with Labella in person or by Zoom and talk it over.
Yeah, I mean, if they could meet in person and we could, I think an in-person meeting is a little easier.
Yeah.
A little easier to explain something than kind of doing it over Zoom, but however they wanna do it, it's fine.
Okay,
But I think just the understanding, at least as I hear it, my understanding that, this is compressed. And next step is, I think just Bob knowing he has permission to take down the old Quonset hut and start.
Yeah, I mean, that Kwanzaa, we're gonna have to, that is something that's gonna have to be dealt with real soon.
you're just saying, Cal, that they could move ahead with some of those things?
Yeah,
I think
if
so.
they know they have. Whatever's that they could take down that Quonset. Start working
Yeah, I
on
mean, as
that.
far as our game plan, we would have to start with those two smaller additions, because that Kwanzaa at the moment is full of road signs and cones and arrows and
you'd have to put it somewhere.
cutting edges and, I mean,
Yeah, or whatever, but
there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, so if we can get working on, those additions to be able to unload everything out of that Quonset, and then once it's empty, then we can tear it down, we can haul it out. And, when the weather kind of breaks a little bit, be back, we can get onto that project itself, so.
Can we do that money wise? Like, can we get the money for the shed, the addition?
we don't have to get it, we got
We
it.
have
We
it.
got it, okay.
Yeah, we can do that. So I'll reach out to David and see when they want to meet,
Okay.
probably pretty soon, so,
Yeah, I'll give you, before I leave, I'll give you dates, so.
okay.
So the Quonset hut, was that right after World War II?
Yes.
Is it on the National Historic Register?
No.
It better not be.
I'll say that. Somebody's gonna be picking that thing up with something, carrying it.
I mean, I actually think it's a pretty cool looking building, but
It is, but, like I said, it's gonna look extremely different if we get a huge snow or,
yeah,
I
Yeah,
mean, it's getting bad, so.
Yeah, it's just those little self-supporting arches.
What's that noise from?
those are steam meters.
Oh.
Those are some of the chipmunks that are stuck in
You want out.
it.
I think it's a great idea.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
thanks, Bobby, that's great.
Thanks, Bob.
But I think he'd just like to know that he can start if he's got, so whatever, I think it would be good.
Should we have a meeting with Labella?
I don't, they work for us, we don't work for them.
Well,
If we
right,
Get
but
one.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be
think for-
snarky about
No,
it.
no, no, wait a
Yeah,
minute,
but
just what I was gonna say.
I think
If
we
we
should
could
talk
have
to
a
them,
meeting with Labella soon, just in case
yeah,
they had any, like, red flags about
or
building
insights.
on the addition where it was and stuff, because
Yeah.
they've already done all the site, that's all.
I don't think it's,
For,
we're talking
due
about a
diligence.
long time.
I don't think we're
Okay.
talking permission or anything, so I think we're
What
just
we're
talking.
talking about, just
Exactly.
Yeah,
for their input. And we
Yeah.
get it going, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, the addition on the Morgan building, that more than anything, any plan we were doing was never, that building was never going anywhere.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, it's all pretty much new.
What about the one thing that didn't come up when we were talking is I believe Labella's plan also had for a roof structure over the fuel station.
I think they did have it in they had it moved in a couple different spots. And it was always something that we were kind of moving around, because in certain spots where they kind of had it, it just didn't work. At one point, it was kind of behind the building. But we couldn't get salt deliveries if that fuel tank was there. So
Cause you're gonna you're gonna move the gas tank.
The 1,000 gallon tank that we have for gas that's gonna come right out of there, so. We currently we don't use gas in anything really, chainsaws, but we're on to, ethanol-free gas for that, so. All our old gas-powered plow trucks, all that is gone, so.
Do the fire companies need it or?
Fire companies got away
Getting it
from
from
gas and everything too, so.
Okay,
I think one of them has a lawnmower. But we had talked and they said that it was actually just as easy to go to the gas station
Yeah,
and get their
Probably,
gas, so.
yeah.
I think for some reason, if we ever go back to a gas pickup or whatever, then it's just as simple as we'll get a gas card or whatever and stop storing, 1,000 gallons of gas for one pickup. So. Problem we're having is the gasoline was actually turning before. So we don't buy ethanol free, so it was creating a bunch of headaches, so. We're constantly taking chainsaws to the repair shop to be fixed, so we've switched everything to ethanol free.
I mean, I'd see no reason for you to not start speccing it out. Even before we talk to Labella, just for your purposes.
Yeah, and like I said,
Back
that
out
building,
materials.
as far as getting that addition on,
It wouldn't be a bad idea.
regardless of whatever plan ever, if we decided to completely change.
How big would the addition be again?
So it would come off from each side of that building
20 feet.
approximately 20 feet to 20.
So like the building that was there, it'd be about that big?
I don't know if it'll go quite to where it may go to where that is, I have to measure that out.
Okay. I was trying to imagine it.
But yeah, I mean,
And do we need to get estimates or anything for demolition costs, just so that we know what it'll be
as far as the old building,
as far as the Quonset building?
no, I mean. It'll all fit in about 3 10-wheel loads, 4 10-wheel loads, so.
Okay,
Like I said, we can have that removed by lunchtime, so.
We're doing that with our own
Yeah,
forces, so.
okay. Yeah, no, I just meant for dumping costs and stuff is what I.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we do it for spring cleanup, so I can go back and make spring cleanup.
Yeah,
spring cleanup.
We could do it, yeah. Right around the corner.
This is great,
I wanna say it's right around $90 a month,
yeah.
so.
This is making me very happy.
Yeah,
This is,
Great, okay.
I think we're all taken aback at the cost.
Well, if we can pull out some of the ideal features of those recommendations
Yeah, exactly.
and put them into a revised new building,
Right.
then it's a win-win.
Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
Great.
All right.
You can go to sleep now.
Me too, I'm on there.
So now I wanted to move to the evaluation and the resolution to accept part 2 of the full environmental assessment form. So we filled out parts 1 and the part 1 section F narrative that we tweaked a little bit last week, but the substance of it really hasn't changed. And that narrative provides a lot of the information that goes into the part 2 form, table, whatever it is. Let's see. So I think what we should do is go through each of the impacts and just review that as a group. So impact on land, proposed action may involve construction. So this is about, the potential environmental impacts of adopting the town of Caroline zoning law that's that we have on hand. So impact on land, proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. And so so for each of these things, we're evaluating the magnitude and extent of potential environmental impact. So the rationale for the answer, yes, is that certainly under the proposed zoning, we almost certainly will see construction or physical alteration of the land surface in different areas of the town. So so the answer is, so these responses were developed in consultation with Nan Stolzenberg, our planner. So future development is, as allowed by zoning, may impact land. Regulating and managing or mitigating adverse impacts are a core purpose of this zoning law. Compared to the limited reviews and regulations currently existing for Caroline, for any and all kinds of uses anywhere, uses appropriate to the town and each district are now specified and will receive review. This law establishes districts that protect existing hamlets, commercial areas, open spaces, and farmland. This by design will both avoid and mitigate impacts, particularly cumulative and secondary impacts. So for each of the 8, so the proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to the water table is less than 3 feet. So after checking yes, our options are no or small impact or moderate to large impact. So for each of these, we've answered no or small impact. So the proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater. The proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface. The proposed action may involve the excavation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. The proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal. And then the proposed action is or may be located within a coastal erosion hazard area, and that's no. So other impacts, the core purpose of the zoning is to regulate, manage, and mitigate adverse impacts, as stated earlier, so. So that all seem reasonable and sufficient?
Yes.
Great, okay. Impact on geological features. Okay, good night, Bob, thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
So
What page is that?
that is just the next one, that's double sided.
Okay, yep.
So impact on geological features, the answer is no, because there are no unique landforms or geological features identified in the town as determined from local, state, and federal databases. So, yeah, that's an interesting response because we only have our favorite landform or whatever out there, but as far as officially
There are
recognized.
no official ones.
You know, if it helps.
So that, yeah, it's not national. We have the unique natural areas in some places.
That's not a geological feature though. So
Okay,
those are usually, I think those
The
unique natural areas
geological
are
features of
usually
cliff.
identified by biological,
A cliff, a dunes, minerals, fossils, caves.
yeah.
okay. I was thinking gorge might be.
Do we have a gorge?
Unique natural areas in the Brookendale Gorge
Mm,
on my
mhm.
property.
Yeah,
I mean, it was,
I can see why you would think that, yeah.
yeah, so,
It is.
but
yeah,
But I think it was some of the plant life, in there,
You think what?
lichens and the moss and stuff, when they're identifying unique natural areas. I believe was identified because of some of the plant life
I
in
see,
and so the water comes out of the side of the gorge all the time, so it's
yeah, it
always
seeps, yeah.
it seeps out, and so there's all this different moss and lichens and stuff growing. So I don't know how you pull that away from those two things apart, but it doesn't mention gorge, so I'm okay. So
Great, so move on to 3.
we can move on.
Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. So yes is checked on that. And I'll read the narrative in the box is future development could impact surface water, however, surface water is specifically protected by the zoning law. And a proposed EPOD is environmental protection overlay district. So that's the stream, what we now calling the stream corridor overlay district. Took me a while to figure that one out. So adopting zoning does not increase the impacts or likelihood of a negative impact occurring, but instead mitigates or avoids such impacts. The EPOD serves to move development away from sensitive areas alongside surface water bodies, thereby minimizing impacts of development on such areas. The town review processes in this zoning law will avoid or mitigate impacts in or alongside surface waters. And so all the boxes are checked as no or small impact may occur for creation of a new water body, increase or decrease of over 10%, of over 10% or more than a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface area of any water body. Dredging of more than 100 cubic yards of material from a wetland or water body. Involve construction within or adjoining a freshwater or tidal wetland or in the bed or banks of any other water body. Create turbidity, either from upland erosion runoff or disturbing bottom sediments. Constructing in construction of one or more intakes for withdrawal of water from surface waters. Construction of one or more outfalls for discharge of wastewater to surface waters. Causing soil erosion or otherwise creating a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to siltation or other degradation. Affecting water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site of the proposed action. Involve the application of pesticides or herbicides around any water body. I think that would be no. Or require the construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities. So no or small impacts. And again, I think the message is that the zoning law is protective in all regards for surface water. And then other impacts, secondary and cumulative impacts may occur as land is developed, but the zoning is designed to minimize those through design and development standards. The fourth one, impact on groundwater, parallel, so checked yes. Future growth will rely on groundwater, zoning as review and criteria to ensure for adequate water. Emphasizes measures to control and minimize stormwater and erosion. Authorizes hydrogeological studies for new groundwater withdrawals. Establishes a special use process that includes attention to groundwater, allowing the review board to fully assess adequacy of groundwater for the use and potential impacts on groundwater. Such protections are not currently in place. So, is it helpful if I read through all the subparts or not? Seems.
Has everybody read through it?
Mhm.
I don't feel the necessity to do that necessarily.
Mhm.
It's gonna take a lot of time. We're on page 3.
Out of town.
So, yeah. So the topic areas are new water supply wells, existing, or demand on existing wells, which was explained in the answer.
Bulk storage of petroleum or chemical products
Yeah. It's protective of that.
and pesticides.
Yeah. Okay. Impacts on flooding, the proposed action may result in development on lands subject to flooding. So yes, that could happen. Impacts, including cumulative and speculative impacts, are mitigated by an existing flood damage and prevention law. Zoning enhances this protection by steering new land uses and development away from flood-prone areas through the stream corridor overlay. Flooding will be minimized or avoided as a result of the development standards of the new zoning. The zoning is designed to limit development in and impacts to flood zones and riparian areas. So I think that's pretty clear. Again, all the answers for the individual impacts on 100-year floodplains, 500-year plains, it doesn't matter. It's protected no matter what. So no or small impacts may occur.
If there's there's a dam located on the site. We don't have many dams left, do we?
The last one we had got washed away in
There's one further
1981.
upstream.
We don't have
I think
any
that's it.
dams. Because I answered that for the flood, for the hazard mitigation thing, I think. I don't think we have any dams. Are you asking if we have any dams?
I think there's one upstream, isn't there still?
I don't think we have any dams that qualify as dams. There
Okay, that
be a
may be-
dam,
maybe it's
an old
around there.
dam.
Not anymore, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you, oh, I'll talk to you about later. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay. Impacts on air, that one is checked no. The proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source. So this is a very specific ask, and so the answer is no. Proposed zoning will restrict certain uses that would impact air, such as heavy industry. Zoning elevates the importance of air resources via site plan review and special use permits, where the review board must evaluate air resources. It is not likely that any future use as allowed by the use table will have any air emissions that come close to or exceed regulatory levels. Some future development projects may have air emissions related to construction or deconstruction operations, but those would be temporary. Okay, so I'm going to move on to 7, since the answer there was no. Impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in a loss of flora or fauna, and that's checked yes. Future building in Caroline could have adverse impacts on plants and animals by disturbing forest, meadow, wetland, and other habitats. Zoning will not stop development, but will ensure it is of appropriate scale and intensity, and is located and designed to avoid or mitigate impacts on plants and animals. These zoning regulations are designed to mitigate impacts on plant and animal life during development. Site plan review and special use permits will give the town the tools to identify, protect, and mitigate impacts of development as they are proposed. Having zoning is far more protective of plants and animals than exists without, where little is identified, reviewed, or protected. Thus, the impacts of adopting zoning are expected to be positive for plants and animals. So I guess the reason for checking yes is that in particular, development could have a negative impact, but overall, zoning is protected. And certainly even for a particular project that does impact plants and animals, the zoning is more protective than what we have without, so. Impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. By the same rationale, this is checked yes. But the proposed zoning is very farm friendly and allows all types of agriculture to continue or expand throughout the town without impediment. The 3-acre average lot subdivision provision in the ag rural district will ensure that open space is preserved for the possibility of farming activity in the future. Farmland and farm resources will be protected by ensuring new projects reduce impacts to adjacent farms via an ag buffer. Requires use of the ag data statement and the ag disclosure notice. Adds modified site plan review process for certain intensive ag operations. And requires review board to consider impacts of a proposed project on agriculture in the district. Currently, development can take place anywhere regardless of its impacts on agriculture. These zoning regulations will significantly enhance protection of agriculture.
Number eight, isn't it the USGS land classification system? Or is it the New York State land classification system?
For what classification?
Land soil groups classification, isn't it USGS, not NYS? Under A, I mean, it's just.
So you're saying it's not New York State, it's US,
Yeah.
okay.
I think this is a New York State form, right?
Yeah, this is
So this is their language.
this is the DEC's form.
Yeah.
So we didn't fill that in.
We won't argue with them.
Yeah, we did not fill that in. So yeah, this is a required form from the DEC. Maybe it's inclusive of that,
Yeah.
what they're saying.
I'll call
So.
them. I mean, why not pick a fight with the state? They're not picking a fight, they're just.
Yeah, why not? What's wrong?
Yeah.
Great, so I thought that explanation was solid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
forward. Number 9, impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or on sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic and aesthetic resource. And we checked yes on that. New building may impact aesthetic resources, but this zoning law defines scenic resources, adds protection of such resources with performance standards, directs the review board to avoid or mitigate impacts, establishes that land disturbances should be in locations least likely to block scenic vistas, and that conservation subdivisions be designed to preserve scenic resources, authorizes the review board to require a visual impact assessment, and uses a special use permit that includes protections of scenic resources. Does that all make sense?
It's very interesting that this doesn't include architecture. It's really interesting.
Yeah. From an artist's perspective
Well,
there.
aesthetic resources, I
Yeah.
would have expected.
No, that's a really good point.
You just care what it looks like.
But but this is about environment, so that's interesting.
We've got historic and archaeological resources next.
Number 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. This is check yes. The proposed zoning elevates the status of historic structures in the purpose statements, establishes hamlet districts to promote these traditional centers with their historic buildings, specifically defines historic structures and features as part of hamlet definition, includes historic resources as a feature or features to be included in preserved open spaces, and adds provisions that require historic structures to be considered in siting and design of new structures as part of site plan review. As above, current land use regulations have no review or standards related to protecting these resources. Zoning will improve the town's ability to protect historic resources. And check yes, and no or small impact down the line. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or reduction in open space resources as designated in any adopted, municipal open space plan. Which I don't think we have, but, so answer then, yes. New development of any kind will reduce open space in Caroline. The 3-acre average lot subdivision provision in the ag rural district will ensure that open space is preserved. So the zoning protects open spaces through use of buffers, includes open space in community character, purpose, and definitions, establishes that major subdivisions be designed in a conservation subdivision manner with 50% preserved open space, and establishes rural siting and farmland protection siting guidelines. This zoning will allow for growth patterns designed to mitigate impacts on open space and recreational lands. So. I'll move on to 12. Okay, impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. No, there are no designated critical environmental areas in the town of Caroline. That one straightforward. Impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. Checked yes. Creation of a focused commercial district. Allowance of business and multifamily developments in hamlet areas and other operations elsewhere have potential to increase traffic. This law is designed to ensure that no major project is allowed without site plan review and special use permit review, of which minimizing traffic impacts and increasing multimodal transportation opportunities are critical components. Zoning requires limiting the number of curb cuts, authorizes the use of traffic impact analysis, and requires review board to evaluate traffic and impacts at every site plan and special use permit review. Further, the zoning law, by encouraging mixed-use development of residential hamlet centers and preservation of open space, will promote livable neighborhoods that reduce the need for long-distance transit. Zoning will reduce, avoid, and mitigate traffic impacts. So again, check yes, and then no or small impact. Down the line. Impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of energy, of any form of energy. This is checked no. The adoption of zoning will not increase energy use, but is designed to reduce it. As noted, by promoting smart growth, the longer-term goal of this zoning law is to reduce the use of energy for transportation. Site plan review includes design standards to minimize energy use and encourage renewable energy. Impact on noise, odor, and light. That's checked no. Adoption of this zoning law will not increase the likelihood of noise levels above local ambient noise levels. Site plan review and special use permits will give the town increased ability to identify and avoid or mitigate noise, odor, and lighting impacts. Zoning design standards include a dark sky compliant lighting standard. Many intense uses that create noise or odors are not allowed under the zoning law. The zoning law provides greatly enhanced protection from noise, odor, and lighting environmental impacts. That was 15. 16, impacts on human health. That check no. No negative impacts on human health is anticipated as a result of adopting the zoning law. Enhanced regulation of land uses that may introduce pollutants, as well as specifying allowed uses appropriate to Caroline, will both enhance the protection of human health. Heavy industries and others likely to add, and let's see.
Likely to adversely impact.
What's
human
that?
health. Likely to adversely impact human health are not allowed.
Yeah. So enhanced regulation of land uses that may introduce pollutants, as well as specifying allowed uses appropriate to Caroline, will both enhance protection of human health. Heavy industries and others likely to adversely impact human health are not allowed. Yeah. So that's checked no. And number 17 of 18, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plan. Please check no. I think appropriately. A key purpose of this zoning law is to promote the community's vision and goals articulated in the town's recently updated comprehensive plan. The proposed zoning law does that by providing enhanced environmental protections and review of each development project, as well as by guiding future development to promote nodal development with livable hamlets and neighborhoods and protecting open space. That check no. And then number 18 is consistency with community character, which I think is very similar to number 17. That's check no. As far as impact on community character, the project is inconsistent with the existing community character, so that's check no. No impact as in previous response. The proposed zoning law is fully consistent with the community character, as its purpose is to preserve and enhance the town's community character as expressed in the town's comprehensive plan. See section F for details on community character. As development occurs over time in the town, new growth could change community character, but the zoning is designed to avoid, minimize, or mitigate that. So that's the completed part 2 form for the seeker. So I am satisfied with those answers, and the part 1 narrative is posted on the home page as well. And I updated that today with some of our tweaks. So I'd encourage people who are interested. It's a longer read, but it's exhaustive. With that, I would like to offer the resolution to accept this part 2 of the full environmental assessment form for the zoning law environmental review.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kate. So whereas the Caroline Town Board has reviewed and considered potential environmental impacts of the town of Caroline's proposed zoning law in each of 18 areas specified in completing part 2 of the full environmental assessment form under New York State's environmental conservation law, therefore be it resolved, the Caroline Town Board hereby approves the information provided for part 2 of the FAF in regard to the potential environmental impacts of the proposed zoning law, and further be it resolved, the information provided in the part 1 section F narrative and part 2 will be used by the town board to make an informed determination of significance of environmental impact, which is part 3. So there's no further discussion. I'll call for a vote. No further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. And I will propose that we complete part 3 at the next meeting. And I think it's yeah, so I would propose, I'm going to propose that for that we offer a negative declaration of environmental impact. So I think that's appropriate given these responses. So.
Okay.
All right, great, thank you. With that, unless there are any further questions, we'll move on to the battery energy storage law. Great, okay.
Just as Will's putting on her coat.
She's cold.
By the way, we have a couple of students who
Is what?
there's supports behind the pews, and there's one that is pulled away and the screws are no longer in the unit.
There's something broken there. Okay, take a look at it. I think I remember seeing that, yeah. You didn't do it though.
So,
For the bridge.
Great. Okay, so, let's see. So we, so I've read through the comments. I think the battery energy storage law is in solid shape. I think it offers us protection, so, yeah, I guess, are there any changes that you all think we should make in response to public input?
I mean, most of the public input had to do with fire prevention. And fire, fire action,
Mhm.
which doesn't seem to me to be within our purview of the law. And I think that we took that into consideration and considered that. I don't see that would in and of itself justify our not passing this law for the town's protection. If we
Yeah.
didn't do that, I would want us to continue to be vigilant and work with the fire departments. If we did have a battery storage proposal, that would go through site plan anyway, right? And that would be the time then also to consider the emergency response
Yes, I mean,
situation.
so, yeah, and I think Bill and Well did talk to the fire departments or some of the fire departments, and, there is a provision in here for, having a certain amount of materials on here for on site for fire suppression.
and also containment system. A containment system.
Right, right,
Can I get you to move up to the front?
Oh, yeah, sure.
She's leaving.
or yell.
What is that, come forward and go home? There's provisions in there for containment of runoff if you have to put out a fire, and also for having firefighting supplies on hand, whatever may be required depending on the technology. But that would include, knowing ahead of time how much water you're gonna need or are likely to need, and putting that in your plan. And then there's also requirements built in through code for monitoring and for establishing protocols in an emergency. Because the assumption is that if you have a fire, it will be statewide, kind of, not statewide, but you'll need to definitely call in county and probably
A big
state
response, yeah.
authorities, and you'll need all kinds of emergency response people beyond fire and
Mhm.
whatever.
Myself, I would like to just not see any BESS
You'd
in
like
the
to
town
not
of
any what?
Caroline. I would like to not see any battery energy storage systems in Caroline, period. I'd have them not listed in zoning, and then they would be prohibited. I think battery storage systems should be near the urban using centers, and we get stuck with the solar panels, solar fields, maybe windmills, and I don't know, I just feel like, there's not that much usage. I'd like them to be closer into the demand side of the equation. Sort of a shared burden. I just, the risk is as much as the risk is just like, no, just.
So for this, I mean, we're looking at if we do have battery energy storage systems, what kind of a handle?
I'm saying no if.
Right, but that's not what this is.
I know, but
That's the zoning law there,
yeah, well, whatever
right?
the,
And we could talk about that, but
We can easily talk about that.
And
We
there's,
didn't talk about that in the zoning law because we were doing this,
yeah,
but
well,
we
I
can
don't
talk
know,
about that.
yeah, just as I think about it more and just read more, learn more. You know, the little stuff I've seen, I don't know how accurate it is, that, you know, the governor's got a task force or something working on better battery storage systems right now, and so is our law a little premature if the statewide things are gonna come up to make certain determinations or predications that, if nothing else, I think we should
We should what?
hold off.
So why, my question to that is, we can always change the law later. Why? This gives us some protection. Without this, we have no I mean,
Put a
a battery
moratorium,
chain store, you know.
put a
could come in-
moratorium on,
What's that?
put a moratorium on.
Well, that's, I mean, we could put a moratorium on them, but
I don't know, I just, you know, like, I think the risk and the likelihood of anything. I don't know, I just don't see it.
that's, yeah,
Well,
that's further than I'm prepared to discuss,
I
because I
mean,
don't know.
for the background, the reason that this law initially came up through the planning board was because we had approved a proposal
Yeah.
for a large commercial solar field. And the parallel to that was if there's gonna be a large commercial solar field,
But that never
does the
happened.
town need to protect itself from?
I mean,
batteries?
it was joined with the solar,
Right.
NYSERDA's solar siting law, right? So,
Right. But that, the solar field never happened.
I guess I still don't see the logic. I mean, this is gonna protect us a little bit. And it has nothing to do with whether something happened or didn't happen, or. I mean, just because something didn't happen like that doesn't mean you don't write a law to protect yourself from the possibility.
I just don't, why have a law that you?
We don't
Could I
know,
just
right? But
add a little
Yeah.
relevant
Go ahead,
information? Okay, so, the governor's office released a new press release about their committee. So keeping in mind that, you will see evidence of something coming down the road long before anything actually happens solar or battery wise here. Nothing you do is gonna affect a utility installation, which has a totally different function. The governor's committee is expecting to put out a report in the first quarter of 2024.
pretty soon.
Yeah, and there should be some indication of what kinds of changes they'll propose in the uniform code or in other relevant regulation through ORS. So just to give it a little more perspective. I don't think anyone's going to show up asking to build a large solar installation or battery installation in the first quarter of 2024. They have to go through lots of processes at the state level.
Right. So is your recommendation that we should then pass this right now?
My gut feeling is you can wait until the end of the first quarter to see what the governor's office is putting out. It's just a matter of how much work you want to do. If they make
You
regular.
wanna do.
we want to, let's do
Well,
as much work as possible.
if you want to, you know, you don't want to ignore what they recommend, because they're going to study more recent data than was available 4 years ago.
Mhm.
So you're gonna be looking at it again, maybe.
It is,
Possibly.
you know. Yeah, I mean. I would say, what I would like to do is, so that, yeah, I mean, in putting this discussion for tonight, I didn't know whether we'd be prepared to vote on it or not. But I would kind of like to think about it and put it on the agenda for our first February meeting and maybe reach out to the governor's office and see if I can find out anything about. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I really. It's not, I mean, let's say we passed it, so then we passed a law, and then we find out in 6 weeks that they make these recommendations. Well, it's not that we can revise the law. If you look back at like, there were like a couple versions of the hydrofracking moratorium that were passed in rapid succession. So it's more work. But you know, I guess my lean now, or my preference now would be to pass it, put it in place, and then we can take action as need be in the future. I'm happy to, you know, wait until February, whatever, 7th
7th, yeah.
to bring it to. a vote.
So I have a related question then. Would we want to entertain Cal's proposal to simply ban them? Which we could add to the use table.
Yeah, I would.
We could do that tonight and still be within the month. The month window for our public hearing. If we wanted to change it tonight, we could do it tonight.
I'd have to think about that longer.
Yeah, I don't want to.
So then I would suggest that that's for a revision of the zoning law down the road.
That's what I think.
Okay,
That would be my vote.
yeah,
I mean, I think it's,
just wanted to make sure that we.
I mean,
don't.
it may be that, you know, there's gonna be these huge batteries that are gonna be stored for people who live more in the cities, like you were talking about. Or it may be that small communities want a big battery for, you know, recharge. 600 is 6 Teslas. I'm just saying, you know, I mean, it's a big battery, 600 kilowatt, but it's not, and anything above that, I mean, right now, anything could come in, right? And this would say anything over 600 would have to have review about where it goes and things like this. So it's, I think it's important that there's some reins on this. And I don't think we want to just,
I don't want to put any reins on them, I just want,
yeah, you just want to ban them.
I just want to, sorry, you know, I mean,
Uh,
urban energy man keeps dumping stuff out us in the country and I'm just,
Yeah, I don't-
I'm not convinced that that's
Yeah.
what would happen.
well,
I'm not
I,
convinced that that would be the sole use
I'm not either.
of a large battery system.
Yeah, that's-
Would be for educators. I'm just not convinced of that, so,
So,
you know, I would not vote for moratorium for that reason.
I can see your point, but I'm not sure that's the only
yeah,
reason we might, that I can see a way that we actually might want a couple large batteries to help the grid and not have blackouts.
I could see a local entrepreneur may want to build one for some group of townhouses he's planning or something. I mean, that's,
that's a good.
So I'd like
that's a fair
flexibility.
point.
And not an outright ban, so.
Yeah.
so I guess for tonight's meeting, are we comfortable not voting tonight? We are, okay. So, and I've stated how I feel about it, I think. Anybody else wanna, before we leave the discussion? I would like to put it on the agenda for consideration for a vote on February 7th. If that's okay. And I welcome vigorous discussion between now and then and information sharing.
I mean, I'll just say as the liaison to the planning board that did this, I'm quite comfortable with voting for it.
Yeah.
You know, and acknowledging, I mean, Bill and Will just put in tremendous amounts of research and work
Yeah.
on this,
Yeah, to your point,
this
Michelle,
law.
I
We
would
can always
certainly,
utilize it.
I would certainly go along with something that is private entrepreneurial, but not utility scale. If you see what I mean, if this included something that separated utility scale from where it's, you know, public, wired into the public grid versus if just some entrepreneur wanted to have solar that supplied battery energy storage system. Like we might have one here for the town halls, we'd have, you know, there'd be scale and kind of focused purchase for it to be something that's utility, public, you know, the grid, that I just, no. I mean, right now, that's my position, but you made an excellent point about, you know, well, let's think beyond. So thank you for that point. Because I was just adamant about, no, I don't want to be.
So I would say, you know, like, if you have some information or an article you've read that has influenced you, I'd
Sure.
be welcome, welcome that, so. But yeah, okay, so we'll continue next time. Is that okay? Or,
Well, let's just,
Well, thanks for
well,
coming.
let's just wondering if she can sneak out.
okay, well, bye, Will. I want to mention one thing that, so I'll say was compelled, for the insurance renewable to do a cyber survey. And so when I did that, they responded that we would need to have multi-factor authentication in place
Oh,
to get a renewal of our cyber insurance. Currently, we're not insured until we do that. But
We have to have a cyber what?
so it's, you know how like sometimes when you log into something, then they ask you to recognize that by a code sent to your phone.
Yeah,
That's what this is
yeah.
okay,
for getting into your town email.
okay.
And so I will be sending you an email. I have done this, Jesse and Velvet have done it. Now, when I go into my email, I have to have my phone to get that code.
Yeah,
So we're all gonna have to do that. It's Microsoft Authenticator that you wanna download to your phone.
okay.
So if you know how to do that, you can go ahead and do it, or we can guide you through it. But I just wanted to alert you that that's gonna happen, and then keep your phone with you
When, you have an idea when? When?
immediately.
Okay,
Probably tomorrow, if
okay,
we,
really?
what's that?
Wow.
I mean, we should do it, we can do it whenever we want, but we should do it as soon as possible,
Is it-
so that I can get back to Bailey Place and say we're done.
The thing we're downloading, is it different from that duo authentication thing, that duo?
It's called Microsoft Authenticator,
Oh,
and I got it from Play Store and
It
just,
sounds like the same thing.
I mean, because I already have it because of Cornell's system.
yeah, you might have it, so.
No, Cornell's got Duo Push.
Yeah.
It's duo, it's a different thing.
It's a
Is it
different
different
thing.
thing? Okay.
It's a different thing.
I can show you.
But this means that every time we open our email, we gotta do this.
It does.
Can't they just,
I'm only saying that because I had to do it today.
can't they just text us a phone, a code to our phone number? Or does it have to be?
But that's what they're gonna do.
But that's kind of what happens. You get this little code sent
No,
to
I
you.
know, but I can get a text on my computer. I don't have to worry about my.
Yeah.
But each time we send.
I
it in-
will just have to say from my experience today, the first 24 hours of downloading this, it completely disrupted my day working on 2 workstations. Chris and I were constantly getting booted one of the, each other out of it. It was, it's not fun, but it's for
pain in the
cyber
rear.
protection.
Yeah, no, I'm
What's it called again?
Microsoft Authenticator. So I mean, I had to do it this afternoon and I had the same
So
reaction.
did you just go to the App Store and find it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but so Lisa is our IT assistant, consultant, so she's gonna send some directions
Okay,
that I'll send to you.
Okay,
And she was gonna send me a list of all the town emails, so I can let everybody know,
all
so,
right, okay.
unfortunately, we're forced into this, so.
So it's not an option.
It's not an option.
No.
No. So then I wanted to, before we go any further, so what do we think about the February meeting day? So we could. I would say that we meet the February 28th and just, sort of just. Pre-authorize, bill payment. To be sent the week,
there you go.
to be done the week
Yeah.
before, and we
Yeah.
have records, we can
Yeah.
always.
Yep.
Remedy it, so, okay. So if you're comfortable with that, I'll offer resolution to hold the February business meeting on February 28th at 7 PM.
Okay.
Okay,
Great, anyone want to second that?
second it.
Second by Kate, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Great, thank you. And then, Tim, do you want to just say something about the website proposal?
Yeah, you have it on, I don't have it with me.
Oh, I have a copy here.
We looked at it last time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think everybody's seen it.
So, I know this is basically the same thing, but since the last time, I can't remember, I mean, was it in the interim or did I find out this just before? I'd asked her to enhance her proposal
Yeah,
because the original proposal didn't have provisions for migrating the data, which is really a heavy lift. And so she has now built that into her proposal, which was something like an additional $1,500 or something like that, which seemed very, very reasonable.
Yeah.
So, what happens is when you do the new redesign, to get everything off the old site into the old site, takes a lot of manual action.
Yeah.
So I'm quite comfortable with this proposal.
okay,
I had to do a new rebuild for my program at Cornell 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and that was 15,000 without migration.
Oh,
So her proposal is very, very reasonable in relationship to local and New York City
okay.
website design
Okay.
firms that I totally thoroughly vetted.
So would you like to offer a resolution?
So I would like to offer a resolution.
Oh, I took it away.
Took it away.
Here it is. I think that's the first one, but
Whereas the town of Caroline's website is in serious need of redesign, and reevaluation. And whereas, Yvette Berggren has presented us with a viable plan of redesign and enactment. Therefore, I propose that we accept that we adopt her proposal.
resolved.
Let it be resolved that we adopt the proposal by Yvette Berggren.
Okay,
to
accept her
redesign the
proposal.
website. Yes, thank you.
I'll second it.
Second by Kate. Any further questions or discussion?
That was exhausting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. So that's great. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. So, we'll let her know. Great. Okay. And thanks, Jesse, for moving that forward. Okay, now I gotta look back. So I will. Okay, so I'm gonna offer the following budget amendment resolution. Resolve the Caroline Town Board hereby makes the following budget amendments. This is just a tweak because of a mathematical error. I increased because for chips too much last time. It really doesn't matter, but anyway, I'm just tidying up.
Right.
So, by 35,494.21, I'm proposing to decrease both DA 5112.2 and DA 3501 chips, and by 54,455. I'm increasing DA 2665 sale of equipment and increasing DA 5130.2 machinery equipment. And this is to mobilize the sale of equipment this year, those monies for equipment purchase in the 5030.2 line. And then by 2,718.82, increase DA 3820 youth services and increase, that's supposed to be a single D, a 9030.8 social security. So this is to funnel the camp payroll payment into the social security line, the appropriate amount. So those are the three, that's a suite of three budget adjustments. Do I have a second? Seconded by Michelle. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And Cal said aye too, so that was unanimous.
Yeah.
Great. And then I will offer a transfer resolution of $23,340 from DA 5030.2 machinery EQ equipment to the highway equipment reserve fund, DA 233. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tim. And this is the from the leftover money now in the equipment expense line at the end of the year being sent into the highway equipment reserve fund. So any further questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great, thanks. And I'm going to propose that I have lined up a fairly large suite of transfers to balance end of year accounts. And they're all listed there on my supervisor's report. I'm going to propose that I not read through them all.
I'll second that one.
Okay, that was a separate resolution. So I'll offer this, these final 2000, I hope, final 2023 transfer resolutions to square the books. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Seconded by Michelle. Cal missed out. And all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great. And then I'll offer a bill payment resolution. Resolve the Caroline Town Board hereby approves the following payment of the following amounts in each of these funds. A fund, $116,148.17. DA fund, $60,306.76. Streetlight fund, $449.72. And SF, the fire fund, $6,325. Do I have a second? Second by Tim. And so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And let's see, so back to the agenda. And did people have any feedback on the minutes of December 20th?
Look good.
Look good. So the minutes of December 20th are hereby approved. Thank you, Jesse.
What about the organizational minutes of January
Oh, yeah,
4th? I think you're a meeting
yeah,
behind. Yeah.
yeah. We already approved it since December 20th, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that should be January 3rd. Thank you.
It's our first meeting of them.
2024.
January 3rd, right?
That's right. So I will make a couple of notes about that. That maybe would be good to note, Jesse. So after the meeting and discussion, so Tim is going to be the alternate to TCOG. Is that correct? Yeah. Was there anything else? Maybe not. That's the only, maybe.
I think that was the only thing I knew about.
What else? Okay. If I think of it later, I'll bring it up later, so.
And then see the stuff mean, this is a jump back, but the notice of intent for the Stormwater Coalition, I'll get that paperwork and get it to you to get it signed in the next couple weeks.
Oh, is this the agreement with Soil and Water?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So it's a little bit of paperwork after you need to sign it. It needs to be done by February. I don't know, I'll get it to you
Okay,
by the 1st of February.
okay, great.
And there's been a huge change, but not a huge change, a change at the state level. It used to be, there's a new electronic version coming up that starts in 2025.
Okay,
It's just,
okay, great. And this is, not necessarily, but did you want to discuss anything more about the history committee?
I think not, not at this time.
Okay, not this time. So with that, I will,
So we haven't approved the minutes from the third because they need to be changed. Is that the idea?
no, I think we need to, so the minutes are approved, so
Are they?
we don't vote on the minutes, but
Okay.
they're hereby approved.
Okay.
So thank you so, yep, minutes of January 3rd are hereby approved. So thank you. So with that, I'll offer a resolution to adjourn. Second by Kate, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Great, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, good night.
Good night. See you in the morning.